Have you ever dared to wonder, what if everything you believe about your mind is wrong? Not just slightly misguided, but catastrophically inverted. What if your thoughts are not born from your brain, but merely filtered through it? What if your very self, the essence you call me, was never a product of gray matter, but a signal coming from somewhere beyond space and time? Pause for a second. Breathe. Consider this. A young girl born missing nearly two-thirds of her brain, and yet she's top of her class. A child with a brain full of fluid instead of neurons, living, laughing, playing sports. People declared clinically brain dead, solving math problems and recognizing loved ones. And perhaps most mysteriously, split-brain patients who still feel like one person even after their brain has been physically severed in half. These are not stories from mystics or monks. They are documented, peer-reviewed medical cases, archived by modern science and witnessed by some of the most respected neuroscientists in the world. So let me ask again, what is the mind? If the brain truly creates consciousness, like the liver creates bile or the heart pumps blood, then none of these stories should be possible. But they are. And what if, just what if, your consciousness doesn't reside in your body at all, but temporarily uses it? What if your brain is not the author of your thoughts, but merely a receiver, a biological radio tuned into something vast, ancient, and eternal? What happens to that signal when the body dies? Does it simply stop, or does it continue elsewhere? Tonight, we're diving headfirst into a realm where neuroscience meets the mystical, where quantum theory echoes ancient wisdom, and where cutting-edge research begins to illuminate the very question most scientists still dare not ask: is the soul real? If you're ready to abandon dogma, if you're willing to confront the limits of materialism, and if something deep within you has always felt that there is more to life than neurons firing in a skull, then stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you might not just believe the soul is real, you might know it. And you'll never see yourself or your consciousness the same way again. Before we venture deeper, if this topic already has your curiosity tingling and your intuition buzzing, hit that like button and subscribe. We're just getting started, and what comes next will challenge you to your core. The brain, a generator or receiver. Modern neuroscience has long treated the brain as the originator of consciousness, a biochemical machine producing thoughts, memories, and identity. But this model is under siege from its own data. Neurosurgeon Dr. John Lorber once examined a patient whose brain was largely replaced by cerebrospinal fluid. 95% of his cerebral cortex gone. Yet he had an IQ over 120 and earned a math degree with honors. In any other context, this story would be labeled miraculous. In neuroscience, it's an anomaly, quietly buried in footnotes. Thousands of cases like this exist, from soldiers with severe traumatic brain injuries to children born with only a brainstem, many of whom display personality, emotional nuance, and decision-making skills. If the brain is required for conscious thought, how do these individuals function unless something else is at work? Henri Bergson, a philosopher with an eye for science, proposed something revolutionary. He called the brain a reducing valve, not a generator, but a filter, condensing a higher, more expansive consciousness into a usable form for physical survival. Like tuning into one radio station from a cosmic array of frequencies. This isn't just poetic metaphor. The physics of consciousness is beginning to catch up. Consciousness without a brain. Let's talk about near-death experiences, NDEs. Not the light at the end of the tunnel cliches, but veridical NDEs. Experiences where patients accurately describe what was happening in the room while they were clinically dead. Consider the case of Pam Reynolds. Her body temperature dropped to 50 degrees. Her heart stopped. Blood drained from her brain. Flat EEG. She was, by all definitions, dead. Yet afterwards, she described the surgical instruments. She repeated conversations between the doctors. She identified the music playing in the background, all verified by the medical team. How do you see, hear, and remember when the very organ said to generate consciousness is shut down? The only answer that fits the data: the mind operates independently of the brain, and Pam isn't alone. Thousands of NDEs carry veridical details, sights and sounds perceived while clinically brain dead. And here's the kicker: people never see the living in these states, only the dead, often even those they didn't yet know had passed. What model of hallucination explains that? The split brain illusion. In split brain surgery, the corpus callosum, the bridge between the left and right hemispheres, is severed. According to materialist logic, this should result in two separate consciousnesses, yet patients still feel like one person. Dr. Yair Pinto went further. He told split brain patients fragmented stories, half to one hemisphere, half to the other. Somehow these individuals stitched the narratives together. No single brain hemisphere had the complete story, and yet the person understood it. How? There must be a third integrator, a non-local consciousness, binding the fragments. Science is now forced to whisper what mystics have shouted for millennia: you are not your brain. If your mind is being blown right now, you're not alone. This isn't fringe science. This is what the evidence says when we stop trying to make it fit materialist assumptions. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. You're part of a global shift in understanding consciousness and free will. Benjamin Libet's famous experiments revealed brain activity that precedes a person's conscious decision to move a finger. This has been interpreted as proof that free will is an illusion. But here's the twist Libet himself emphasized. Participants could veto the action at the last millisecond without corresponding neural activity. This suggests something profound. Your brain might prepare an action, but you decide whether or not to allow it. There's a conscious observer, a will that exists beyond the reach of measurable neurons. And that may be your soul in action. Psychedelics in the expanding mind. Under psychedelics, people report a dissolving of ego, a connection with universal intelligence, encounters with conscious beings, and timeless dimensions. But here's the contradiction. During these experiences, brain activity decreases, especially in the default mode network. If the brain creates consciousness, shouldn't more activity mean more experience? Instead, when the brain quiets down, the mind seems to open up. This aligns perfectly with the reducing valve theory. When the filter is loosened, the full spectrum of consciousness floods in. Is the soul a hologram? Physicist Carl Pribram developed the holonomic brain theory, suggesting that memories are distributed holographically across the brain, like every part of a hologram contains the whole. If this is true, then destroying parts of the brain shouldn't delete memories entirely, and it doesn't. Even more intriguing, this theory aligns with the ancient Hermetic maxim, as above, so below. Consciousness as a holographic soul operating in and out of space-time. If this video is making you rethink everything, now's the perfect time to pause, drop a like, and hit subscribe. This is the kind of deep truth YouTube rarely shows you, because it shakes the very foundation of what we think reality is: the immortal mind. Think of the number 8. You can write it, erase it, whisper it, or scream it. But the concept of 8, its essence, cannot be destroyed. It is non-physical. So too is your mind, your capacity for logic, love, morality, and transcendence. These are not chemical reactions. They are spiritual phenomena expressed through chemistry. A body dies like a crumbling statue, but the sculptor, the artist behind the form, remains. That's you. So now I ask you, if your brain is not the source of your consciousness, what is? If consciousness can exist when the brain is offline, where does it go when the body dies? If your soul is real, scientifically, not just spiritually, how should that change the way you live? What kind of civilization would we build if we truly believed we are immortal minds, not temporary machines? What if we're not just flesh and bone, but fragments of an eternal intelligence, experiencing itself through our eyes? The truth may be more beautiful, terrifying, and real than anything you've ever imagined. Are you ready to remember who and what you truly are? Tell me your thoughts in the comments section.